Call this meeting to order. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item on the agenda is public input. I remind everybody you have 5 minutes to speak. I'll try to give you a 1 minute more warning before that 5 minutes is up. First on the list is Adrian Booth in regards to the Tamal Fiesta y Mas.
Thank you, Mayor Morones.
There's the little white button will turn red.
Okay, is that better? Thank you, Mayor Morones, for inviting me to step up to speak about Tamal Fiesta y Mas. I'm going to go ahead and give the town clerk a copy of the poster that we've put together. And I'd like to thank the town of Silver City for being one of our major sponsors again this year. As you may know, this is the fourth year for Tamal Fiesta y Mas. It was started by the Volunteer Center and the Green Chamber in conjunction with the town of Silver City to do, among other things, promote local food, local business, and support local entrepreneurism. This is really an event that helps locals rediscover downtown, and it also promotes what the Green Chamber and Dan Schilling have talked about as civic tourism. So we hope it brings outsiders into our community and brings them in to spend some money here and learn about our diverse heritage and culture. Tamal Fiesta is going to be Saturday, November 29th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Outdoors on Broadway in historic downtown Silver City. The Best Tamal contest has been expanded this year to 4 categories, now including community entrants as well as commercial vendors. And this year's judges are our very own Mayor Mike Morones and representatives from the towns of Hurley, Santa Clara, and Bayard. And at this time, I also want to thank Councilor Cano and Councilor Eamon Smith for their role in helping develop Tamal Fiesta. Councilor Cano has been on the organizing committee in the past, and Councilor Eamon Smith helps with logistics as part of the Green Chamber. This year, we've got some pre-event activities going on at the museum. Mas y Mas is not participating this year. We're sad to see them no longer in town. However, that's made room for some new entries such as El Gallo Pinto, the Grinder Mill, Brewer Hill Missionary Baptist Church, and even Puppy Dog Ranch and others. So it should be a great day. Main Street is going to be running a free trolley on Bullard Street. It's the same day as the lighted Christmas parade. There will be activities downtown from 10 in the morning all the way up until the lighted Christmas parade. So we encourage everyone to come on down and participate. It should be a great day. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next on the list is Dr. Art Martinez in regards to interest rate caps. I can give you 5 minutes here, or if you wanted to wait till we have that item on the agenda, you can speak as public input at that point. I'll leave it up to you. You can.
How much time would there be?
You could have more than 5 minutes during that point in time.
I think I'll hold off.
Okay. Next is Jamie Newton in regards to funding for nonprofit resource group.
Thanks very much for allowing me to speak to you. I'm Jamie Newton, and I'm a member of the Board of Directors of Gila Mimbres Community Radio, broadcasting on FM 89.1 as KURU, and I am here to thank you for the funding support that you've given to the nonprofit resource group of the National Center for Frontier Communities. This has been a real benefit to Gila Mimbres Community Radio. I doubt if I can adequately express the importance of the services that we received from the Nonprofit Resource Group, but I will try. You probably know that Gila Mimbres Community Radio began to broadcast on FM 89.1 late last year after about 8 years of very hard work by volunteers in the community. And we were exhilarated when we had this full power signal going out to the entire listening area for a few months. And then the transmitter that we had bought, which was an older model in good operating condition, broke down, perhaps as a result of storm damage. It's not clear what precipitated that, but we had to resort to a low-power broadcast that was limited to part of our listening area. We knew that we needed a new transmitter, state-of-the-art, easily repaired, under warranty, that would enable us to return to full-power broadcasting, and that would be expensive. To attract the kind of funding support that we needed to acquire that transmitter, we would have to have a contemporary, clear, comprehensive business plan. We could have written that ourselves unassisted. It would have been a steep learning curve. It would have taken quite a while. We were connected with the Nonprofit Resource Group. Lisa Martinez, Jimenez, the director, came to a meeting of ours and helped us to chart a course and lay our plans. She put us in touch with a consultant from their group, Maddie Eagle, who was prompt and capable and very effective in drafting a business plan that met our needs and reflected our information. We collaborated with her. The plan eventually was in our voice, but really professionally written. And that enabled us to present information to potential funders who responded by providing the funding that we needed to buy the new transmitter, and our signal can now be heard from Catron County to Aquila Flats and as far away as parts of Arizona. So we're very grateful to the mayor, the 4 councilors, everybody associated with the city government, town manager, for having the vision to provide this funding that enables nonprofit organizations to have access to professional services that would be beyond the reach of many if we had to get them at market rates. This has been enormously helpful, and we encourage you to continue that funding. You all know how much nonprofit organizations contribute to the community and how they facilitate volunteer involvement. We're very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Robert Donnelly in regards to the Incentive Review Committee.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. My name is Robert Donnelly, and I am the de facto chair of the Incentives Review Committee. I've sort of fallen into this role, and I've come here tonight to just first of all, let you know that the Incentive Review Committee has completed its process of developing a questionnaire and service and fill out. If you have any questions about what the Incentive Review Committee is supposed to be doing or it's for, it's a ordinance. I don't remember the ordinance number, but it's required by the town of Silver City that there be an Incentives Review Committee, and it had become inactive over the last several years. So it's been reactivated, and so we spent the first year of our getting together just putting together, working out the details of how we're going to do this work. And now that that's complete, we're sort of waiting around to see if someone comes to us for help in developing a business or a program or something in the town of Silver City. Meanwhile, we are suffering from attrition of membership, and we're down to 2, as I recall. Also, a great, huge thanks to Mrs. Mackey, who's been so supportive and helpful and did all the minutes and scheduling and, announcements and all of that. So the committee has one representative from each district, and I believe one at large. Is that right, Ann? And as it stands right now, there's me and Sherry, I don't remember her last name, but she's on the committee, and that's it. So we need anyone, first of all, who's interested in doing this or knows of someone who would be available. Right now, we meet on an as-needed basis. And so we haven't had any regularly scheduled meetings, but sooner or later, someone's going to need some help from us. And so I just put this out to you all, that this is an ordinanced committee, and it should be filled. All right? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is James Baldwin in regards to plastic sack ordinance. Mr. Baldwin?
James Baldwin. I am a resident of Grant County, not of the city, but I do my shopping exclusively in the town of Silver City. This is for clothing, food, including 2 automobiles. I do not shop online at all, and I do my darndest to not shop out of town. And this leads to the plastic sack ordinance, which was passed. I have a question that requires some clarification. In reading about the single-use plastic carryout bag, less than 2.25 mils. The reusable bag, at least 2.25, which means it's more than 2.25. What happens if the bag is 2.25 exactly? There needs to be clarification on that. Also, I question the measurement of the bags. I have been down to the Shamrock Station. I saw them measure. I found it to be woefully inadequate. They could not measure the thickness of a plastic bag. They had to use the two sides of a plastic bag before they could measure it, and that was done with a vernier micrometer, and it was subject to my reading, looking at it from this viewpoint, and the other person's reading it from this viewpoint. It did not give a particularly precise measurement, and again, they could not measure the thickness of a paper sack. They had to measure both sides in order to come up with a guesstimate. Here's one for you to ponder. This is from Comcast. This is a plastic sack. It is less than 2.25 mils. Are you going to require that Comcast stop issuing their controllers in plastic sacks? It's something to ponder. Here is a sack from a local hardware store. It could be from Sun Valley, it could be from Ace, it could be from Foxworth. But nonetheless, this is a clear plastic sack where the contents are labeled on the quantity and the name are labeled on this side. The checkout person can easily look to count how many things are in this sack and to see if they agree with the labeling. If it were a paper sack, they would have to be dumped out on the counter, sorted, and tabulated. I find that to be inconsiderate of the local stores that would be placed in this position. Last, I have this paper bag. This paper bag is fraudulent. I used this at a store this morning, and the store manager was at my side. He knew what I was doing. I told him, and I picked up one of the articles in his store, and I walked out through the electronic detector system. It did not register, even though I was shoplifting, because this paper sack, you see the bottom of it? That's a false bottom. I had the article wrapped in aluminum foil, which precluded the sensor from detecting the article. This can happen if you have the large carryout bags. This can happen even with this paper sack as you saw it. Now, I'm not subject to shoplifting, but nonetheless, anyone that's ingenious can come up with something far, far more elaborate and foolproof than what I have done here. I have another question, and this pertains to the enforcement and penalties. Any person who violates, then you come down to C, if a person or retail establishment, thank you. Why doesn't it say if a person or retail establishment violates? I think you're missing a couple of words in here for clarification to cover the topic completely. I do question the need for this. I have spoken with a person who is in very close association with the detention center, and he has not seen any plastic sacks out there on the fence separating the properties. I question the need for this ordinance. I think it's done with an agenda in mind. I don't think it is done... I don't think it was done with the best interests of our retail establishments in town. Thank you, and I hope it will be repealed.
Thank you, Mr. Mulder. Next item on the agenda is council comments. Councilor Bedison?
Thank you, Mayor. I truly enjoy serving on the council in my, I can't remember now, is it my third year? Yes, in my third term. And I wanted to announce that I plan to run again for a fourth term, and I hope that I will be able to serve you. This is this coming March, when districts 1 and 3 are up for election. So that's my announcement in terms of running for re-election. I also wanted to comment on something that I had said at the last meeting regarding the current animal ordinance. And just to clarify, the way I view the current animal ordinance is one in which we have, the town has set standards for behavior, and it does list about how we expect the securing of dogs to occur within a fence. The only time it does mention single point chaining is in a section that's called hitching animals prohibited. And it talks about horses and any other animal cannot be hitched to any lamp post or fire hydrant in the town. There's some other sort of elaborations on some of the things, but in terms of the way we set the standards in the current ordinance, the securing of dogs is specifically about enclosing them within a fence and allowing them enough room to run, to have exercise, and that is to be then checked by the animal control officer. And as was mentioned in some public input at the last council meeting, there is an issue with folks not necessarily following the standard that's been set. And I know from personal experience that I was able to ensure that a dog that had been chained repeatedly and wrapped around his tree, couldn't get his water, all those sorts of things, that was taken care of by animal control and another of other individuals through the process of my input, calling, as well as other neighbors calling. So I do think that there are some serious issues that we need to look at and address in the animal ordinance, and I look forward to working with the group that has come forward to discuss that issue. I think that's all I have to say for now. Thank you very much.
Councilor Anna Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to speak briefly about walking, bicycling, and driving on our streets. Now, I am an aging adult here, and I know that getting out to walk and ride my bicycle is good for my physical, emotional, and mental health. So I plan to keep doing it and maybe even up it. As well, health and fit and wellness experts and professionals have been encouraging us as citizens to get out and walk more or bicycle more. However, that also means that citizens who are driving their trucks, cars, or motorcycles must be attentive and respectful to those pedestrians and bicyclists. Our streets can be safe for us all, provided we all pay attention. So I want to encourage all of the citizens, when you're driving a motor vehicle, to remember, a pedestrian who is crossing in a crosswalk, or from one corner directly across to another, by law has the right of way. Please don't zoom right by me when I'm in the crosswalk. Be watchful, be mindful, be respectful, and be safe for yourself and for your fellow Silver citizens. That was my one preachy announcement. The second one is to, again, invite everyone who wants to have conversation with a counselor to come on Wednesday evening at 6:30 p.m. to the Western New Mexico University Student Memorial Building, 3rd floor. Talk with me and the special discussant, our Assistant Town Manager, James Marshall. Thank you.
Councilor Ray?
Thank you, Mayor. We had our toy run this past weekend, and it was very, very successful. We probably had 100 bikers, and all the toys went to the CYFD. Now, getting back to Councilor Amison, there's been numerous people that walk on the bike lanes, and numerous people that run on the bike lanes. Now, I don't know if it's something that has to be done by the police department or by us. I thought the bike lanes were supposed to be for bike people, not for running or other activities. That's what I see. And you brought up a very good point. Also, I had a conversation with Dr. Shepard here a while back, and we were discussing how to promote Western. Excuse me. I gave him an idea, and I told him I would check with Mr. Brown, and I did check with Mr. Brown, and the idea is that those 2 water tanks that are up on Highway 180 West by Chloride Flats, I asked Mr. Brown if Western could utilize them and put Western New Mexico University, their paintings and all that. Mr. Brown said that they could. So I did relay the message to Dr. Shepard, and he is going to look for it and see how much money it'll cost to paint it, and it'll be up to Western to maintain it. And again, happy Thanksgiving to all. Thank you.
Councilor Conlon?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have no comments this evening.
Okay. The only thing I'll, as always, I always appreciate all the public comment. One of the great things about public comment, it helps us not only get a barometer of people's feelings, but also allows us to clarify and communicate. One of those items on the plastic bag ordinance, it was purposefully put off about 6 months for education, for us to figure out how it was going to be enforced, how we were going to play with that. And we're still working on that, but we are getting it. Most of those questions that were asked can probably be answered very strongly by staff, whether it's Alex or through Terry Timmy. Many of those questions were actually clarified even during the debate. A lot of those plastic bags aren't even applicable. Many of the major vendors who would be affected have already worked towards finding ways of being in compliance by utilizing thicker plastic bags that are reusable. So there's a lot of work. There's been heavy education and work with the businesses, and that's been where staff has really focused on. And I think now that that's been clarified with the businesses, we're probably going to start working with and educating the consumers more. And I think that staff probably has a good ability to answer a lot of those questions. And Alex, please articulate who would be the best person to get information from.
Terry Tillman with the Office of Sustainability. He's the one focusing on it right now. He's actually gone to almost every business in town and met with them. Him and a volunteer have been going out to the residents in Silver City, and it looks like they're going to probably get to go to almost every residence in Silver City to pass out some of those reusable bags that the town, PNM, and the Volunteer Center purchased. They also have educational material in the bags, so that can explain give some of the answers. And if you want a bag, we have them at City Hall as well. There's different areas where you can go pick up your bag, and that has the educational material in it as well.
A good point that was made earlier is being the commercial center for a large area, much greater than our town, we probably want to make some public service announcements of some sort so that we can get the residents of Grant County who heavily utilize our retailers as well.
Yes, we can do that.
Thank you, Alex. Anybody need round two? Councilor Beckson?
Thank you, Mayor. Last time we met, I had asked for that center divider, the new one on South Swan, and I noticed that they've extended the yellow paint, and they've put up the very nice little, they're not really blinker lights, but when your lights flash on them, they kind of blink. The only thing is there's still an expanse that, it's so narrow, that little divider, not like our larger ones, that people hit it so many times that it's almost black. It kind of blends in between the two yellow and the two little things. I saw a car when I was coming over tonight, kind of hit it by mistake. So I'm just hoping that maybe we can repaint that section of white between the yellow and the yellow that ends.
I can ask them to just paint the whole thing yellow.
Yeah, just something so that it's a little bit easier to see. If it was broader, it wouldn't be a problem, but it's a pretty narrow little thing, so I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, I can ask them to paint the whole thing.
Okay, great. Thank you. And I also believe that Mr. Staley's JPPO kids are the ones that have cleaned up all of the plastic bags.
Yeah, they worked all summer cleaning up the plastic bags at the landfill, so that's why we don't have that issue of the plastic bags flying, was because they were out there all summer cleaning.
Well, and I just want to personally thank them because that does make the town more beautiful, and then we meet the criteria that because the environmental department wants us to need to have that clean. Well, we have this 6-month period where we're making the conversion to stopping the use of single-use carry-out plastic bags. And I just want to make sure everybody understands it's carry-out plastic bags. And any questions, as you and the mayor said, should be directed to Dr. Tinney at the Office of Sustainability, because he knows that backwards and forwards. So, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Anybody else? Any changes to the agenda?
Yes, sir.
Approval of minutes.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Beckson.
I move to approve the minutes of the regular town council meeting of October 28th, 2014.
Mr. Mayor, 1 second.
We have a motion and a second for the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting for October 28th, 2014. Is there any discussion?
No, sir.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the regular meeting for October 28th, 2014. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, staff reports.
I don't have any.
Those guys do?
These guys do.
Ms. Marshall?
Mayor, Council, thank you. I'm James Marshall, the Assistant Town Manager, and I'd like to discuss a little bit about a recent report that was published on the 10 most dangerous cities in New Mexico. And we've had this discussion over the years about how erroneous those stats are, the perceptions that they give out to people. And Mr. Brown and I have spent some time in the last month really digging into some of these stats and figuring out what creates those numbers for Silver City. And I'd like to thank Mr. Baldwin, who actually got up and supported my case as a county resident who does all of his shopping in Silver City and apparently contributes to the crime by his own admission there. And I also ran some of this by Councilor Raymond Smith to have a little debate and kind of test some of our theories. So I appreciate that, Councilor. The reports like that are very irresponsible reporting, and I'm going to go into a little bit of why. The first reason is the FBI flatly states on their UCR website, do not use these stats for ranking. And that's what City Data does, citydata.com, and that's what this 10 Most Dangerous Cities report did. This creates the headlines and fear that's based on an unreliable analysis, or more importantly, and probably more factual, no analysis of the data. Additionally, when we did that, we were able to actually come up with some statistics on and demonstrate where our police force falls as far as the numbers being appropriate for a town this size, and I'll discuss some of that. The paper that I handed out to you before lists 13 items that the FBI states are reasons that you would not use the UCR data for the ranking. I'm not going to go into all of those because I've got some of my own. And the rules for entering and clearing cases in the UCR are extremely complicated. It's a book that gives all the instructions on how to enter the data, what is the data, and excuse me, that allows for a lot of leeway in how the data is entered by different departments. So there can be quite a bit of fluctuation just in how you collect and enter the data, and then how you clear the cases by arrest or determine that it's not a substantial case. The demographics and geographic features, they may impact the true population of a city. We compared Silver City, Espanola, and Deming for the analysis, and I have to caution you on the analysis. We use some of the exact same data that it says don't use for ranking, but it's all we have as far as their crime data. The tax data is specifically coming out of the State Tax and Finance Administration, so it is factual and very reliable. The population on the UCR actually takes a deduction based off of the state population. So our census was 10,315, and yes, there's a typo on there. On your paper, it's not 30,000. It was 10,315. When the UCR does a crime rate, they take the New Mexico population and apply that to Silver City population. So in New Mexico, I believe it was about a 2.6% decrease since the population was taken. Well, that has been applied to Silver City's numbers. Whether they're factual or not, it does not matter to them. Deming has a population of 14,855 and Espanola at 10,224. Silver City gross receipts tax is 25.33% higher than Deming and approximately 13% higher than Espanola. So that gives you some indication that there might be more people creating an active population in town during the month. The Silver City water connections are 23.83% higher than Deming, although their population is 14.8, almost half bigger than ours. So the per capita GRT on food for Silver City was $395. Deming was $208. The medical is $86. and Deming Medical is 26. The overall gross receipts tax for Silver City per capita was $845, Espanola $748, and Deming at $458. So that's giving you an idea that there's a whole lot more activity going on in Silver City as you compare it to the other communities and their tax base. Obviously, medical is very, very unpredictable. I mean, it can be based on what services are actually offered within the community, where food is pretty standard throughout on how much you would generate. With Espanola, it's a little bit trickier to figure out their food and medical because they've enacted some of the hold harmless tax. So their tax distribution is put on the schedule in a whole different manner. And you'll see down on one of the charts I have, their tax rate is 8.5 something percent. So using all these numbers above, we estimate that our population is going to be around 20,000. And when we say our population, that's a contributing population that contributes to our gross receipts, that contributes to our traffic, it contributes to our employment, it contributes to our crime rate. That is what, maybe for the lack of a better term, is a participatory population. You'll see on there that there's a chart where we compared Silver City and our crime rates to communities of 20,000 in New Mexico, and there's also another comparison to communities of 10,000. On the communities of 20,000, Silver City does not have the highest of any one crime in any of those cities. And for example, the violent crimes in Los Alamos at 18,000 population was 59. The Silver City was 86. And Gallup at 22,000 was 419. When you go down to communities that are around 10,000, so there's a chart there that shows 9,000 to 11,000 plus. The only ranking that Silver City actually had the highest was in rape. And to give you a little bit of example, we have an extremely active sexual assault support system. The SAS works very, very hard, and we have a university in this town, and the hospital has participated actively in making sure that people are comfortable in reporting sexual assault. So even with these numbers, they can be driven by the population, and does not necessarily indicate the level of safety in the community, but rather the level of safety in reporting. So you've got quite a bit of data on there. I'm not going to go over all of it. If you go into the officers per capita, we're at 1.7 per 1,000 if you figure us at a population of 20,000. 1.6 to 2 is the most commonly reported ratio of officers per 1,000 population, with 2.1 to 2.5 being the next highest, and that's out of 1,743 agencies that reported across the nation. The conclusion is Silver City crime rates, although not where we desire them to be, they are within statistically expected range. Our police staffing is within the industry average, and crime rate analysis is extremely complicated, and doing as these articles and websites tend to only give a feeling of being informed to the reviewer when they may not truly be. And I think it's very important that we get out and make sure that the public knows what the real numbers are. And I can tell you, one of my assignments is to walk and visit with businesses, and I've been doing that downtown, and actually several places in town, but nobody has told me they do not feel safe in Silver City. I don't have a very big sample size as of yet, and the colder it gets, it may take me a little while to get that. But people feel safe in this town is what I'm hearing. And I think that is critically important, and we have to get that word out. And with that, I will stand for questions.
Very quickly, I would agree. I've never felt endangered in this town, basically at any time or any place. And my instinct, being somewhat analytical, kind of good with numbers, using 10,000 as our denominator on these rankings is almost ludicrous. I don't know if at any point our town has ever had only 10,000. I'm not even sure we sleep 10,000. It's considerably more, and I do feel that the statistics that we're during the day have closer to an 18 to 20,000 population that our police force is protecting and serving is much more in line and makes for a much better denominator. Is there any questions, Councilor Bedison?
You had mentioned, Mr. Marshall, that you plan to, and you are already talking with businesses. Is there any plan to take this and to write an article?
We actually have a meeting tomorrow, maybe, with the Silver City Neighborhood Alliance on their report, and Councilor Eamon Smith has asked that I put in a brief of that in that distribution, and we'll discuss putting it as well on our website.
Yeah, I'd like to actually hopefully see it in both papers as well, because I think that that can also be picked up by other agencies, other news reporting agencies stating, that there's errors in that original highest, what was the name of the article that you cited? The 10 most dangerous cities in New Mexico. I mean, I think that anything we can do to enhance other individuals across the state and across our region, and any tourists to understand that we're not that, statistic there, but these are really truly what our statistics show, I think would be good. And I just think it'd be beneficial to tourism as well as other things.
I think we can do that when we get with the different papers and things like that, because I think it's very important, not just for safety, from the safety aspect, but also a discussion we're going to have later, hold harmless. The approach that the state has taken, the cookie-cutter approach at treating everybody the same. Well, our 22%, when you look at what we're going to lose at 22%, dollar-wise, it's different than other communities. Deming's got a population of 50% higher than us, yet their loss is going to be about 30% less than ours. And so the impact on this community is a lot higher than it is in most any community in the state of New Mexico because of the way that it was taken care of. So I think this education is important. From many different aspects.
No, and I agree, because I think that this analysis does enable us to use it for hold harmless, that discussion, and almost anything else, because I had kind of heard offhand someone saying they must have read this article saying, oh my God, I live in one of, the 10, the most dangerous cities in New Mexico, and I said, well, the statistics are manipulated. They're not necessarily what you think they are. And so I think any clarification, getting out to public, and any venue that we have available to us would be the best thing. This is part of that PR about our town that then, does work for the tourism. I mean, that will be helpful for the visitor center and for the chamber to have that information, so that if anybody ever asks them, they can immediately send it out. So, thank you.
Questions? Just one final comment. I think just about every town in this state, especially small communities, you put a 10-mile perimeter around them, which is basically a neighborhood, still almost the same town, same neighborhood, and most of them don't grow materially. You put a 10-mile perimeter around us, and you basically have probably greater than 80% of the entire county, and we're well over 20,000 people. So, and those are all our neighbors. It's a huge fallacy that using our 10,000 as the denominator there. Thank you, Mr. Marshall. Thank you. Chief, did you have anything? Thank you, Chief.
Mayor, City Council, just add a couple of things to Mr. Marshall's report. Excellent report, I appreciate that. This community is safe. Our officers work very hard at keeping it that way. A couple of issues that wasn't mentioned that also play into the statistics is the software that we have at the police department that's antiquated, that creates some of our problems for us in getting the actual true stats out of it. The reports that I give you every month are hand searched through the offense reports to provide you the most accurate information as to what's going on with the Big 7 UCR reporting, which is what you guys get. The other thing, just to back up the report just a little bit, is that in conversations with the chief from Deming, we find that their bad guys come up to Silver City as well and commit crimes. And likewise, as an example, shoplifting. We catch people out of Lordsburg and Deming, not frequently, but enough that would impact our stats as well. Now, likewise, some of our crooks go down to Deming and shoplift at their Walmart, as an example. So that's absolutely true. We have a service population that we figured, and which was put forth previously, between 15,000 to 17,000. The way the population has grown and activities within our community, it's not unlikely that it is 20,000. So I tend to agree with that. Our traffic has increased in our area through specific periods of time. It's very difficult to drive on 180, Silver Heights, Hudson Street during our busiest periods of time, which is morning and afternoon from 3 to 6. So, yes, we have a lot of activity in this community, but it's just not those issues there. It's also, yes, we do have a certain amount of crime that does happen in Silver City. We also have a responsibility to put those stats out as Mr. Marshall has done, and it's a great job in actually defining it a lot better than what's in the system. I'll move on. Some of the things I'd like to talk about, we have some projects going on for the department right at the moment. We have Coats for Kids going. We started that today. Anybody that has excess coats or want to get rid of some coats, beanies, gloves, whatever winter gear, please feel free to drop it off at the police department. We're going to run this for about 2 weeks. And then hopefully before Christmas break, get this all out to the kids. But we actually want to try and get this done this first week of December. I'm asking, because it does cost us and CBS Cleaners also helps us out on it, is that we'll take coats over them that are dirty. We're asking that please clean those jackets and coats and items before you bring them in so we can get them out a lot quicker. The other thing that we're doing is we're putting baskets together for the needy families. We're going to put together 5 baskets for Thanksgiving, then we'll probably do some more for Christmas. We're asking for canned goods, box stuff. If you want to, I'm not asking for turkeys. We will provide the turkeys because we don't want them thawing out too soon. But anything you can spare, please drop it by the police department. Like I said, we want to do 5 baskets for Thanksgiving. I want to talk about some of the Christmas issues that we end up having, or holiday issues. Starting about now, we're starting to get into our holiday season. One of the problems that happens is we have an increase in several areas of crimes. One of them is burglaries of vehicles. The biggest contributor of vehicle burglaries is number one, leaving your door unlocked on your vehicle. Number two, leaving items in visibility that can be seen from outside your vehicle. In the parking lots, please do not leave anything in your vehicle. Put it in your trunk so there's no temptation for the crooks that do go through our parking lot. Having said that, we're going to start picking up more patrols in our parking lots and hit some of the businesses and have some walkthroughs during this period of time. So our guys will be patrolling the area. The other one is increase in traffic. Take some precaution. Drive safely out there. If you can make a right turn in and a right turn out, that's the safest way of doing it. Have some patience out there. Just exactly talking about the pedestrians. We're going to have more people out and about for this period of time doing shopping. They may be walking downtown. It gets dark earlier. Please pay attention to that. It's 15-mile-an-hour zone in the downtown area. Watch out for bicyclists, even during the winter time. There's bicyclists out there riding. One of the big issues during this period of time is domestic violence. We have generally see an increase in domestic violence. So far this quarter, starting October 1st, we've already had 82 domestic violence calls for service. In 2013, we had 100 total for the fourth quarter. So we're well on that pace to beat that already. We still have a month and a half left. The 2012, there was 140. So again, this is a period of time, there's a lot of stressors going on. Alcohol kind of contributes to that as well. Drink responsibly, don't drive and drink. Of course, I'm going to throw that out there. But again, there's also avenues to take care of those stressors, which is also our mental health people in this community. We have several agencies within our community. All you got to do is pick up the phone and call them. Sometimes it's just talking to somebody, try and reduce that stress. Burglaries and thefts tend to go up this time of year as well. One of the things that you can do is look out for your neighbor. We had, I believe, 9 residential burglaries in October. Don't quote me on that. I'm just pretty sure we only had 9. But we've seen more residential burglaries during this period of time simply because of it's Christmas time. People have been breaking in, looking for presents, looking for quick items to turn around, sell, or actually purchase drugs with them. So one of the things that we need to keep an eye on your neighbors. Take care of each other. If you're going to go out of town, let your neighbor know. Get to know your neighbors as well on that. That goes in line with neighborhood watches. I'm a full advocate of pushing neighborhood watches, but people have to get involved with that and sustain it. Make sure that you lock your house up. Some of the other issues that, and I'd be more than happy to talk further on that, I won't go into detail, but burglar-proof your residence. Get alarms put in, get some camera systems put in if you can do it. Keep your brush away from your windows so that there's visibility, and not just some of the ways of burglar-proofing your residence. Part of fourth quarter this year to date, we've had 15 burglaries. During the entire fourth quarter 2013, there were 43 burglaries. So we're just below the average as it's going. Again, we only have a month and a half left. 2012, for the fourth quarter, there was 38 burglaries. Where we really get hit is in larcenies. And people need to think about what they do with their personal property. You leave it in your yard, that invites somebody to steal your stuff. Take care of your stuff. Put it up. Keep it out of view. Ensure that your garage is locked, your sheds are locked, etc. Right now, we're going through a trend that we've had several shed burglaries where tools and equipment have been taken out of them. So again, it's very important that secure it and also keep an eye on your neighbors. Any questions?
Again, I'll make just a basic comment. I appreciate your report, especially following Mr. Marshall's, from the standpoint, even though I do feel extremely safe, I do understand we do have issues and you have a hard job ahead of you, and this is probably a time of year that things are at their most difficult for your department and for the town as a whole. And we definitely need to be diligent in taking care of ourselves and making good decisions, being aware of our surroundings and our neighbors' surroundings, and that's a very good message, and I'd just like to thank you. Is there any questions for the chief? Thank you. Any other reports? Ann?
I'd like to report on the openings on boards and committees, since Mr. Donnelly came in tonight to report on the Incentive Review Committee. We do have several that do have openings. We have 4 openings on the Grant County Silver City Extraterritorial Subdivision Commission. We have 2 on the Museum Board. We have 3 on the Incentive Review Committee. We have 2 on the Planning and Zoning Commission. For the Library Board, there are 2 positions we're advertising, and the Historic Design Review Committee, we have 2 positions we're advertising. And they can find, if anyone's interested, they can get information from me at City Hall or at the town's website. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Benson?
Mr. Mayor, I move for a short recess.
We have a motion and a second for a short break. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're in recess. I'll call this meeting back to order. Before we go into new business, Councilor Ray just wanted one final comment before moving forward. Councilor Ray?
I got too much going on off memory. Anyway, I am going to run for re-election. Thanks.
Thanks, Councilor Ray. Next item on the agenda is new business. Under new business is approval, disapproval of a special dispenser permit application for the Mimbres Region Arts Council's Black Tie Ball on December 13th, 2014, from 6:30 p.m. to 12 a.m. at Lawley Toyota, 2750 Highway 180 East, Silver City, New Mexico. License holder information: Snappy Mart number 4, owner name WNN Enterprises Inc., liquor license number 0151 at 206 North Hudson, Silver City, New Mexico, 88061. Hey.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council and staff, I'm here representing the Mimbres Region Arts Council to seek your approval for this special dispenser's permit for the Black Tie Benefit Ball. It's an annual fundraiser for the Arts Council. It's taking place on 12, 13, 14, and I think you all have an invitation. I think we submitted the application itself and also a map along with a cover letter giving you a little information about the event. Does anybody have any questions?
Is there any questions for Peg? Any questions or comments from staff? I'll entertain a motion. Or did you have a question? Councilor Ray.
You want to do it?
No, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve of a special dispenser permit application for the Mimbres Region Arts Council Black Tie Ball on December 13th, 2014, from 6:30 p.m. to 12 a.m. at Lawley Toyota, 2750 Highway 180 East, Silver City, New Mexico. License holder information, Snappy Mart number 4, owner's name, WNN Enterprises, Inc., liquor license 0151-206 North Hudson, Silver City, New Mexico, 88061.
Mr. Mayor, I second the motion as stated.
We have a motion and a second for approval of a special dispenser permit application for the Members Region Arts Council's Black Tie Ball on December 13th, 2014, from 6:30 p.m. to 12 a.m. at Lawley Toyota, 2750 Highway 180 East, Silver City, New Mexico. License holder information, Snappy Mart number 4. Owner name, WNN Enterprises, Inc., liquor license number 0151 at 206 North Hudson, Silver City, New Mexico, 88061. Is there any further discussion?
No, sir.
We have a motion, a second, as read into the record. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. That was easy. Next item on the agenda is direction on legislative priorities for the Prospectors Legislative Forum. Mr. Brown?
Mayor, Council, now in early December 2nd, the prospectors will be holding their legislative forum, at which time I'll be presenting our priorities to our legislators. I just wanted to get your input. Usually we discuss our priorities, and which I would recommend number 1 being affixed to hold harmless, because that is the one that impacts us by far the most of anything. But other than that, we usually ask, identify what capital outlay we would be looking to receive. So I provided you with a copy of the ICIPs. If you look at from number 1 through 12, the only ones that haven't been funded are the Chihuahua Hill water system improvements, and that was going to be our CDBG project, but we weren't able to apply because we haven't even got our grant agreement from our last project. And the sidewalks. But everything else there, we have some funds to move forward on funding to move forward on almost every one of them. So I would like to recommend that we request funding for sidewalks, as well as to increase the size of our next chip seal and fog seal project. So I just wanted to make sure that that was okay with you. We've already got some funding for the chip seal project, our co-op. We got co-op, and that will be Little Walnut, Kane, and North Swan. And so we would like to ask for some additional money so that we can, on top of chip sealing it, maybe mill and overlay parts of Little Walnut. So if that's okay, those are what I'm recommending to move forward with.
Questions or comments? Councilor Bedison?
Thank you, Mayor. I think one of the things you brought up should be mentioned, which is that we have such a long delay in receiving our grant agreements, and that it doesn't enable us to do what we need to do in seeking grant monies to pay for things, especially with the Chihuahua Hill.
Yes, this is a constant problem we've had for the last 40 years. It's been terrible. It takes us, for instance, Colonias, we'll be bringing you the our grant agreements for approval to the next council meeting here in December. We were awarded those projects back in March, and we're barely getting the grant agreement now. We haven't even, well, we received it late last week, to put on the agenda. So, we sit and we go through the process of applying. We use engineers' estimates to apply for these projects, so we have a decent estimate of what it's going to cost. Well, by the time we actually get the contract and we get the project actually put out to bid, the costs have gone up. So it's to the point where we're scaling back projects so we could fit within the funding that was originally approved. So we're not getting the full project that we originally request most of the time because it's taking so long to get anything.
Well, I've mentioned, and you've mentioned before, that this is something that's on the municipal league, the board of directors. We've talked about this. It's not just us, it's everyone in the state. And I think the more they hear, our legislators hear about it from our communities, maybe they'll actually take an active interest in making sure that things are better for the next 4 years. But I think it's something that the more the different communities say, this is creating a problem, we can't get our projects done, within the monies that were then allotted because there's so much time's passed that everything's increased. But I think that would be important, since one of the legislators will be a representative-elect and will not know that these are sorts of the things that we are facing as municipalities.
Yes, I can do that. I'll make sure that's
I just think
discussion point.
it would be a good one, in addition to our number one, to fix to the hold harmless. Thank you.
Councilor Emerson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to again express appreciation for work that's supposed to start on Little Walnut. I had a constituent last week regale me with tales of Little Walnut, and I had 2 emails come in since that time, wondering when it was going to happen. So I would really support sidewalks and streets. And I really want to echo what Councilor Bettison has said. Sounds like we need legislative push, but we need a little executive interface too. So thank you, Mr. Brown.
Anybody else? I think we're good with the direction that you're wanting to handle, or go down. In a couple items, we may actually have some additional things for us to mention to our legislators as well. But definitely we want to convey the idea that we need more efficient grant processes and procedures so that we can actually give them some more fruitful projects to work on. But I think you have your guidance. Next on the agenda is disapproval of notice of intent ordinance number 1235, an ordinance granting a franchise for cable services to Comcast of Colorado, Florida, Michigan, New Mexico, Pennsylvania, Washington, LLC. Amending Appendix A, Article 4 of the Town of Silver City Municipal Code. Mr. Scarborough?
Yes, the town's franchise with Comcast expired some years ago. We've been carrying over on the previous franchise. The town has regularly been receiving its percentage of gross receipts, which is fundamentally used to finance CATS TV. This negotiation took a little bit longer because there were certain differences in our ordinance in our intentions than the template for franchise that Comcast originally presented to us. There's a number of small changes and then some very dramatic points. The main point is that we retain our 3 channels. The argument was made to me that Las Cruces, with 30,000 subscribers, has one PEG channel, and with about 1/8 the population, Silver City has 3. And I was asked, why do we need 3? And my response was, because we're special. And that took some time to get through corporate. Everything is kind of centralizing now with Comcast, where it has to go through their attorneys in Seattle and then corporate in Philadelphia. You notice that the name of the entity is Comcast of Colorado, Florida, Michigan, New Mexico, Pennsylvania, and Washington. They would like everything to be the same. Our franchise is different. A couple points where in most of their franchises, when they tear up the street, it says that they are to restore the street to the condition it was prior to the excavation. Our franchise says that if they tear up the street, they have to restore it to the current standards and specifications that we apply to the town. There's also special mention of the fact that even though they have authority to operate on our rights-of-way, they need to get permits, and they have to consult with the town manager before doing any project on trails, parks, and open spaces. So that's a bit unique. The INET, which was a grand idea 15 years ago, or more than that, 18 years ago, is no longer a part of the Comcast franchise. We have 9 fiber optic lines in the ground. When the franchise with Comcast's predecessor was drafted, and this was my first introduction to the city because the city had hired me as a telecom person. We had great dreams of maybe using the INET for spreading out education. We did use the INET for a while. The county had an INET line they used for a short time and dropped it. We had remote booking with the detention center, but when the detention center moved out to Ridge Road, they went to a T1 line, so they don't need the INET anymore. The municipal court is using Skype for booking, so they don't need it anymore. And Comcast absolutely refused to have anything to do with the INET. So if it can be, and technical people know how to do this, debundled from the head, which is the center of Comcast, their office where they have their all the switching equipment. We have in the ground 9 INET lines that one day might be able to be used for some entrepreneur to produce something. I don't know what they could use it for. I did approach the university and the school system, the hospital, and other groups. So it's something in the ground. We don't have to pay for it. There are 9 dark cables now, fiber optics. And Comcast doesn't want any part of it and said sure. They've agreed to maintain the head connections between CATS and the Comcast, so that's solid. There's nothing that gives away the sovereignty of the town of Silver City, so as laws of general applicability are passed by the town council, if they affect Comcast, then Comcast will have to abide by it, although they did want the opportunity to come before you and argue how it might affect their business. But I don't anticipate any of that. The biggest issues, again, was restoring of streets and honoring our parks, trails, and open spaces. We've included that they will be providing free cable, basic cable, to our library, and I made it plural, so if we have another library or one day within the next 10 years, they will have to provide free service to that library as well. as long as the building is within 150 feet of one of their cables. It was a good negotiation as part of it. I was contacted both by the county and by the city of Bayard. They wanted my work to be transferable to them. Originally, we started out making requests for money, capital money, to assist CATS, and they said absolutely not. We're not giving a nickel to anybody nationwide, and we're not giving, you're not that special. So our copies of our franchise, there'll be a few minor changes regarding PEG channels and regarding the specific naming of certain of our ordinances dealing with trails and open spaces. But fundamentally, the template that the town and Comcast has created today was transmitted both to the city of Bayard and to the county. The city of Bayard, it'll be on their agenda next Monday. The one thing that I was fortunate to have accomplished was that in their franchise, the city of Bayard is going to have the option of having its own PEG channel for the mining district. Now, they may not want to do anything with it, but granting these PEG channels is probably not going to be something that's going to be offered again. So I thought it would be helpful for the mining district if they reserved a place for them to have their own channel. And the argument was that in some ways the mining district is its own community and that it would not be fair to deprive them of a PEG channel. So I talked with the city clerk at Bayard today. He said that she had talked to John, the vice president of Comcast, who complained that I twisted his arm to get them a PEG channel. So they're happy with it. I have a franchise was also delivered to the county based upon our template as well. So we didn't give up anything. We got a little more than we had before. We've preserved our relationship with having 3 PEG channels, and I recommend that you adopt this NOI, and then that it be passed in December.
Any questions, Councilor Bredesen?
Thank you, Mayor. The only question I have is under Section 3, construction and maintenance of the cable system. In particular, the distribution of structures and poles and other lines and equipment that may be installed by them. The reason I ask this question is because of a recent news report done on Albuquerque. It just came out over the weekend, or I think last week, where one of the concerns that's going on there, and I know that we may face it as well, is that according to ADA, a federal law, we also of course have a state law, that poles and structures and things that do not permit a person who needs a wheelchair or other device to get around, that they cannot obstruct any sidewalks or anything like that. And I guess Albuquerque is facing quite a substantial amount of money that's been brought up by a variety of folks that need to make sure that they have access to, public right-of-ways without having to drop into a street because they can't get around a pole that might be in the middle of the sidewalk. So my question to you is the way this is written, this will allow us that if something is put in a right-of-way that can cause a problem for ADA accessibility, that it can be moved without cost to the town.
There is no problem.
Okay, just making sure.
Most of Comcast's lines are under pole agreements with P&M, just like the telephone lines are, the existing poles. Some time ago in our negotiations with P&M, I think you were involved, and former mayor, we pointed out that there were poles stuck in the middle of sidewalks, and they were supposed to identify those poles and have them moved, not at our cost. So the second control that's valuable to the town is that before they can, if they do their own poles, they have to get permits. And we can put in the permit, you shall identify the location and satisfy to ourselves that the pole will not be interfering with people with the rights of way.
Thank you. I think it's critical because in the news report, it was mentioned that P&M would have to be moving a number of poles in Albuquerque that are in the middle of sidewalks, like they still remain in Silver City, because there has to be a certain amount, of space for a wheelchair to go down a sidewalk, and so we do have those issues still. And just checking to make sure. And I appreciate the thoroughness with which you've done this. It's an excellent contract.
Any other questions or comments? I'll entertain a motion. Councilor Benson?
Mr. Mayor, let's see, let me get to the front here. I move to approve notice of intent, ordinance number 1235, an ordinance granting a franchise for cable services to Comcast of Colorado, Florida, Michigan, New Mexico, Pennsylvania, Washington, LLC, amending Appendix A, Article 4 of the Town of Silver City Municipal Code.
Mr. Mayor. I second the motion as stated.
We have a motion, a second, for approval of notice of intent to ordinance number 1235, an ordinance granting a franchise for cable services to Comcast of Colorado, Florida, Michigan, New Mexico, Pennsylvania, Washington, LLC, amending Appendix A, Article 4 of the Town of Silver City Municipal Code. Is there any further discussion?
That's not, sir.
We have a motion, a second, as read into the record. Roll call?
Councilor Madison?
Aye.
Councilor Amon Smith? Aye. Councilor Ray?
See.
Councilor Connor? Aye.
Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is approval, disapproval of resolution number 2014-31, a resolution in support of interest fee caps on small loan companies in New Mexico. Councilor Amon Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to give a little background information. I'd like to start by saying what a resolution is and what it does. A resolution, when adopted by a vote of the town council, is our formal expression of our opinion or will based on our values of the town. One of the most common uses of a resolution is to express the opinion of this governing body on a certain issue to another level of government. And this resolution that I am carrying is one such, and will request the governor, legislature, and the New Mexico Regulation and Licensing Department to put a cap on the small loans that are lent out by certain small loan, high-interest lenders that are currently charging our citizens over 175% APR, and sometimes up to 1,500% on these small loans. And I'll tell you why this is important. It's important to me, and it should be important to us all as citizens for a number of reasons. The state of New Mexico has not enacted any regulations placing reasonable caps on these interest rates charged by small loan lenders, while the state reserves its right to regulate as such. So we as the town cannot say, oh, in our town, we're not going to allow this. We have to request that the state take the appropriate steps to regulate those small loans. When I say small loans, I'm talking about, if you travel up 180, you're going to see a total of 10 within our town limits of loan companies that say that they will lend you anything from $300 to $2,500 or $300 to $5,000. Small loans, but very high interest rates. In the time that Mr. Scavin and I have been talking about this and working on this resolution, there was a new report released from the Department of Regulation and Licensing. And statistics showed that the number of loans and the interest charged on these loans is growing. So, for example, in 2012, if we extrapolate, there were probably about 5,000 loans issued in our area. And in the whole state of New Mexico, there was, in 2012, $99 million in interest charged. Not interest in fees, but interest charged. In 2013, it went from 99 million to 110 million. So the amount of loans is growing, and the amount of money being paid in terms of interest on those loans is growing. This is a little frightening when you realize that the size of these loans is, on average, about $500. That means it was loaned at $500, but people are then paying back $1,500, $2,100 for a very small loan. These high-cost loans might seem like a short-term solution to a financial crisis, but in truth, what happens is that these companies doing the lending create long-term financial desperation in the families that are using them. Too many borrowers repeatedly refinance loans, and they cannot repay all of the interest and the principal. Therefore, they fall deeper in debt. Autos are often used as security for these loans, and last year, 2,300 of those autos were repossessed, and the people still owed the money on the loans. As the borrowers fall even deeper into debt, homes are lost, bank overdraft charges soar, and desperation happens in our citizens. I'd really like that to stop. High-cost loans hurt more than just the borrowers. They damage our economy. Money that would have spent here in Silver City is taken away on interest and fees to out-of-state corporations. I want to say this really clearly. None of those 10 lenders are local. They are all parts of giant financial corporations headquartered in Georgia, South Carolina, Oklahoma, and Texas. They are enormous corporations, reaping enormous profits from our mostly poor people. And as such, here's something that Mr. Brown and I talked about. They pay no gross receipts tax. And because of the way our corporate income tax is charged, they don't pay a whole lot of that either. And none of that comes here. One estimate I saw was that for every, that we are really losing, every $100 that's loaned out, we're losing in our own economy $24 to $50. So we Silver City elected officials don't have legal authority to directly regulate these interest rates. So we are going to, if this resolution is passed, make a strong statement of our values and a strong request to the state to fulfill the moral duty to protect our citizens from this financial desperation causing that they're creating. We're not alone in this. Other local governments in New Mexico, Alamogordo, Albuquerque, Dona Ana County, Las Cruces, Mesilla, and Santa Fe have all passed unanimous or near unanimous resolutions asking the state to enact loan caps of 36% APR or less. So this is a statement that I would like to propose that we discuss because it is important for the future financial well-being of our citizens in our region.
Thank you, Counselor. I will just start off the discussion with some of my own thoughts in this regard. I'm glad that the counselor has brought this forward. This is something that's weighed heavily on my mind as a financial advisor professionally. Generally speaking, these lenders are, well, they're predatory by nature. They prey upon those who can't get loans through the traditional regulated industries. Credit unions, savings and loan companies, banks, etc., are heavily regulated and precluded from making these loans that put these poor individuals in much worse shape than they were before they wanted the loan. And in many cases unwittingly so. They feel like they need that money. They have a certain desperation, and sometimes are frustrated by the regulated industries. But those regulations are put in place oftentimes to protect them from getting that loan and feeding a certain desperate desire, only to find themselves in a much more desperate state once in that loan. And these companies that are just going unregulated and charging these obscene amount of interest it hurts those who utilize it the most, and unfortunately many times it goes unnoticed. And this is a monster of a step that I'm glad that we're debating. Is there any questions for Councilor Amon Smith? Councilor Bredesen?
I actually don't have any questions. I want to echo your statements and thank the counselor for bringing this forward. I know that in the past, I think it's Brian Egoff has tried to submit such legislation through the legislature, but it has been defeated. And hopefully, with receiving it, if it passes tonight from our community, as along with all these other communities and counties, that the legislature might finally hear us as well as the governor, because they do prey on those that least can afford it. And I think that it's important that as a council we think about that and seriously consider putting out this notice about how we feel, and ask that the legislature and the governor follow suit. So thank you. Thank you.
Any questions, comments? Public input? Dr. Martinez?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and members of the council, and staff, others. Art Martinez, resident of Grant County, Silver City. And I am here this evening on behalf of the Committee to Promote Democracy. We have done also a lot of research and on this, and it's appalling. It's outrageous. It just is something that representatives of the people of the various communities here and everywhere, as you mentioned, in the state and in the country, we need to address these things. Things are tough in any case, and to have this dumped on our folks is something that we can't allow, and we won't allow for very long. And that's why we became interested for quite a long time. lengthy files of information having to do with all of the things you said and more. There's a list here which I'm not now going to present because I might just look at a couple of them and do that only, and to say a few general things. Now, your resolution is general in the sense that you are expressing to these higher levels of government, or these entities, as we say sometimes, these jurisdictions, that we want them to do something and do it quickly to take care of these problems that our folks are facing every day. And our committee is in support of what we hope you are going to do this evening, and we will be assisting you to also approach these different jurisdictions and personally in some cases the legislators and others to see that they will continue their good work. And they've done some of it already, but to get it accomplished. And the thing is that the most vulnerable of our communities are the ones that are impacted by this so very terribly. And some of us don't know much about that, hopefully, but we're here to do the work for the whole community, and I hear that, and I'm appreciative of that. And thank you for Councilor Iman Smith for sponsoring this and doing your fine efforts there to inform us well of what the hell is going on with reference to matters such as this. That's how passionately and that's how deeply I feel about this, that I put it that way. And so this is something that we can move forward with beginning this evening, and then keep our eye on it and see what else we can do. I'm not going to go through this listing of the very terrible things that face our folks, but we did come up with some preferences as follows with reference to some specifics. And yes, we know that this will be taken care of somewhere up higher in the state. But some of our preferences are as follows: that there be a placement of strict caps on any predatory type interest rates by lending operations here and throughout the state of New Mexico. And that such interest rates be capped at around 40% annual percentage rate for so-called low dollar loans, and at 32% APR on loans of more than $2,000. And these payday loans and these auto title loans and anticipatory loans when you go and have your taxes done even, and things like this, yes, it goes on here. And we're at a considerably lower level than others in the state, in the larger cities and so forth. But we want this done. We believe it would be of further benefit to our public if a statewide database is also put into place as they pass this supportive legislation that we're going to ask them to do, so that we can monitor both the lenders and the interest rates to ensure compliance here and elsewhere with any new laws aimed at cutting back on any predatory type lending doing business either in Silver City, Grant County, or anywhere in the state. Our research revealed to us that at least 25 states now have put into place these protections for their citizens and others. And so we want to join them. And this is a very good start, what I believe you will do this evening. And we're proud to hear about it and see it done. And let's get out there and get to everyone else and get them motivating and on board so that we can accomplish this. It's critical. Thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Martinez. Mr. Staley?
Mayor and members of the council, my name is Gary Staley. I'm a citizen of the county. I was just very interested in this topic. Probably about 8 years ago, as chairman of the Health Council, we were able to bring in a fellow that represented Ruby Payne. I don't know if you've have heard of. It's a model of helping communities work their way out of poverty. And the individual that they brought in here came in about a half a day early, and the first thing he told us, I went around and drove all through the town and counted the number of title loan companies. And that's the first indicator to them of how healthy or unhealthy a community is. Now, he didn't tell us how unhealthy or healthy we were, but I think all of us who were at that meeting began to realize that every time we get a new business in here, that doesn't necessarily mean progress, and especially when it comes to these types of operations. So I wholeheartedly support what I hope you're intending to do tonight. I would say one thing. I think we need to somehow put in place within our community ways to help these people who are utilizing these services to find a different and a better way, whether it's through some sort of financial counseling. We're going to pay for this one way or the other, folks. And if we can help our citizens to become much wiser and less desperate, I would like to see us as a community rise up to that level, not only recommending a cap on the interest rates, but also providing community services where these people can go to and receive financial counseling so that they avoid these kind of traps. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Staley. Roger, did you have a comment?
I'll ask the counselor afterwards.
All righty. Councilor Cano?
Thank you, Mayor. I too would like to voice my support of this resolution. think it's very important. I know that my district has a lot of residents that are probably utilizing this, and I'm concerned about them and about the predatory nature of this kind of business. I would also hope that if there's room in the legislative priorities, that we can possibly consider supporting this a little bit more vocally when we start meeting with legislators.
Yes, and this is one of my comments, even at as far as the prospectors, that this is an opportunity to let them know what's going on and how we feel. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Potts?
By all means. Mr. Stanley?
I think I heard that it had failed in the past, legislative. What were the reasons?
Mr. Mayor, 20 high-paid lobbyists from the industry. That's the reason. 20 high-paid lobbyists from this financial services industry.
And that was probably compounded by weaker community support like
Yes.
this. I think right now with the communities that were listed, local governments are coming out much stronger, and hopefully will have a much stronger voice and be able to compete with those high-paid lobbyists. Councilor Amos Smith?
Yes, sir. Thank you. I move to approve Resolution Number 2014-31, a resolution in support of interest fee caps on small loan companies in New Mexico.
Mr. Mayor, I second the motion as stated.
We have a motion, a second, for approval of resolution number 2014-31, a resolution in support of interest fee caps on small loan companies in New Mexico. Is there any further discussion? Just one comment in regards to some of the preferences articulated by Dr. Martinez. This resolution does recommend, as part of its conclusion, and it's therefore, that we have strict caps of no more than 36%. So we're well within the caps that were presented by public comment. If the state government is to proceed in a favorable action, hopefully they would put in the proper compliance and auditing programs to ensure that whatever they enact is complied with. And I definitely hope that we're adding to the 25 plus states that are already protecting their local citizens. Any other comments? We have a motion, a second, for approval of resolution number 2014-31, a resolution in support of interest fee caps on small loan companies in New Mexico. All those, roll call.
Councilor Edison? Aye. Councilor Amos Smith? Aye. Councilor Ray?
Yes.
Councilor Con?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is disapproval of resolution number 2014-30 for regular municipal election to be held on March 3rd, 2015. Ms. Mackey? Mrs. Mackey?
Yes, Mayor and Council, this is our call to the election for March 3rd, 2015. During that election, we'll be electing councilors from District 1 and District 3 for a 2-year term. We'll have one voting location at the Women's Club for both districts, so all voters can go to the Women's Club on Election Day to vote. The resolution also talks about absentee voting period. The absentee ballots may be marked in person at City Hall beginning on January 27th, and that closes on February 27th. Early voting begins on February 11th. Persons desiring to register to vote for the regular municipal election must register with the county clerk by February 3rd. All declarations of candidacy shall be filed in my office on Tuesday, January 6th, between the hours of 8 and 5 p.m. The casting of votes by qualified municipal electors on March 3rd shall be recorded on paper ballots to be counted by Dominion electronic tabulators. It's the same machines that the county clerk just used during their election. Do you have any questions?
You know, we talked about this a little earlier. It was the one voting site, and it's a great centralized site, and will avoid confusion on where people have to go, and talk us through that process one more time, and also articulate how the systems have been upgraded so that we have a much better understanding of who's voting and such.
Well, the system programming will be provided by our county clerk to the vendor that I'm obtaining the machines from. So it'll be an accurate listing of our registered voters for districts 1 and 3. Actually, all 4 districts will be in the system, but the ones that are in 2 and 4 will not be allowed to vote. It won't. The machine won't allow a ballot to be printed for those. So any residents that are qualified electors in District 1 and 3 may go to the Women's Club on Election Day. They'll announce their name and address. The election clerk will pull up their name on the laptop, and they can print the ballot on demand right there at that time. So we don't have to pre-order ballots. They're printed as each voter comes to vote. So that's a savings for us, and it's definitely a time saver at the end of the night for the election workers. They won't have to destroy any unused ballots. And hopefully this process will be faster for the voter. So they'll just mark their ballot in a booth privately, and then go to the vote tabulator machine and put their ballot in the machine. That machine is what counts the votes, not the laptop. The laptop is just a list of registered voters that allows them to print the ballot. But the vote tabulator is still the machine that counts the votes.
Any other questions, Councilor Benson?
Thank you, Mayor. So the procedure we're going to use for this municipal election for the first time is similar to what we just went through with the county in the general election. So voters will follow the same procedures in districts 1 and 3 and go to one voting convenience center, which is on election day, which will be at the Silver City Women's Club.
Yes. And I plan to order a big banner that we'll put out front, and we'll, keep talking about it, get the word out. We'll issue public service announcements and press releases to notify the public of the change. And then during absentee voting and early voting at City Hall, we'll have the same laptop there. So I don't need to pre-order ballots for that month either. We will print the ballot on demand.
So we can also put this on our website, like up at the top, that this is how this municipal election will run. So the folks go to the municipal's website, they'll be able to see that.
You can do that. Right now, after, if this resolution is adopted, I'll start a new election page, and this will be one of the first things that's posted on that page. Those other types of information about notifying them of the voting convenience center, I'll take every opportunity at the council meetings to talk about those too, informing the public of our change. So between now and Election Day, the public should be well informed, I would hope. And of course, I'd use the newspapers to get out press releases.
Yeah, I think that this is something that, the Municipal League collectively has talked about the fact that for small municipalities, it's difficult to order all of the ballots. It's expensive, and then have many of them discarded through low voter turnout or whatever. So using this process is really going to save us, the municipality, some dollars and be more efficient for the voter, hopefully.
That's what it's all about. It's really about voter convenience. Giving them, if we were a large city, or like the county, I don't know how many voting convenience centers they had, but the voters could go to any one of them because the laptops are networked. So it's a great convenience to the voters not to have to think about where to go. And for us, we're small enough where we can just have that one location.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? I'll entertain a motion. Councilor Bedison?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 2014-30 for the regular municipal election to be held on March 3rd, 2015.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Anderson?
I'll second the motion as stated.
We have a motion, a second, for approval of resolution number 2014-30 for the regular municipal election to be held on March 3rd, 2015. Is there any further discussion? We have a motion, a second, as read into the record. Roll call.
Councilor Madison?
Aye.
Councilor Amos Smith?
Aye.
Councilor Ray?
Aye.
Councilor Kano?
Aye.
Motion carries. Councilor Ray?
One more comment. We cannot let the mayor be the only male up here. Okay? I move to adjourn.
We have a motion, a second, to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.